So about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I did my very first YouTube video where I went into my pack, did a full breakdown of my base pack weight. Figured I would do an update on what I'm carrying now for this summer. I have a few section heights coming up, and this is what I plan on taking with me. And I thought, you know what, why not do a full skin out? So I have my clothing worn over here, and my base pack weight, my pack of course, which I'll get to, and yeah, I'll cover everything. Of course, there's going to be little changes and nuances and you know, different things that have happened over the year, which I'll get to when I discuss all this. Now, as far as weights go, it's going to be difficult just to get through all this gear, you know, here in a meaningful way. Hopefully I won't forget anything. So weights I'm not even going to mention. I'm not even going to get into it that much. I might mention a few things, but if you're interested in all of the individual weights for everything, and the base pack weight total and the clothing worn weight total, check out the link in the description box below. I'll be sure to type up a blog post where I have everything all broken down. Alright, so let's just get down to it. We have a lot of ground to cover, so I will start with the clothing worn over here. Now, these are, I'm sure you recognize them, Chuck Taylors. Now, this is going to be a little bit controversial for some people. I still get funny looks on the trail, and I still get interesting comments, people doubting the how effective or how good it is or whatever. And hey, look, they're not for everybody, but for me they work great. In fact, I came back for a couple weeks ago from a section hike. It was about a 90-kilometer section hike with my wife on Vasaloppsledet, and these are the shoes I took with me. And I even broke a personal record. Used to be my longest hike in a day was 37 kilometers, and I did 39 kilometers. No blisters, no problems, no ankle sprains, none of that. I use the Chuck Taylors year-round. I have another pair in leather that I use in cooler parts of the year. But yeah, I love them. So I have some smart wool socks, of course, to go with the shoes. And then since we're talking shoes, then I have my Gators there. These are the Mountain Laurel Designs Event short Gators. And one thing that I've noticed that I didn't really think about whenever I bought them is that I've had far less ticks. Here in Scandinavia there are plenty of ticks, and I'm sure wherever whoever's watching this in your area, there are probably ticks. They're all over the place. And yeah, they're no fun. So that was a nice added benefit to Gators. I had originally bought them to keep debris and rocks and stuff out of my shoes, and also they are water resistant, very water resistant. So if it's, you know, a bit of a rain, you know, not too long of rain, it helps to keep things, especially like, you know, my pants, I tuck my pants into the Gators, keep them a little drier. And also if I stomp into a puddle or something, yeah, so they have various benefits. I really love Gators. That's a piece of gear that I'm definitely never going back to wearing no Gators. So yeah, so shoes, socks, Gators, pants. These are just running pants. I've had these for several years now. Just a pair of Puma running pants with the mesh inside, which I really like. I mean, not much really more I can say about them. Some people will say they're not durable enough. I've had no durability issues with them. Ex officio synthetic boxers. Again, pretty straightforward. They dry quickly, and they actually don't stink as much as other synthetic clothing. I don't know what they do to these boxers, but yeah, big fan. Over here, we have a new acquisition now. In my first video, I said that I had a Montbell wind shirt, and it served me really well. I bought it used online, and it worked out great for a few years. And I, up until recently, I got this new one a couple months ago. This is the Zpacks Ventum wind shirt, and I love it. I was using the Montbell one up until a few months ago, but then my wife, she has been more interested in backpacking, so she inherited the Montbell one. It's still serviceable. It's got a few small holes and wear and tear, but it's still quite serviceable. But yeah, it was a great excuse to buy this wonderful wind shirt. So that's the Zpacks wind shirt. Very comfortable, very light, and does a great job of what it's intended to do. Okay, baseball cap. Not much to say about that. Great to have, not just for sun, but for rain too, and for bug net, to keep the bug net out of your face. This is a Merino wool buff. If it gets a bit brisker, I can wear the buff along with, say, these. These are possum down wrist and like forearm warmers. They're quite warm. When the temperatures dip at night or in the morning, I can wear those. And generally, though, when I'm hiking and it's warm, again, this is for summer use, I will keep these just in the top of my bag, loose, when I don't need them. Merino wool t-shirt, and that pretty much rounds off my clothing worn. Yeah, pretty minimal. Again, it's summertime. And since we're on the subject of clothing, I suppose now that when we get into the base pack gear, we can start with rain gear, which I have down here just in a Ziploc bag. Go Light Poncho Tarp. Love this thing. I've already said quite enough about it. I can use this in conjunction as my rain gear, but also in conjunction with my shelter, which I'll get to. Then I have, in this little Ziploc, I have my ground sheet. It's just a trimmed, so it's the same one as last year. It's pretty beat up. I have a few duct tape patches, but you know what? I still think it's got some life in it. And then the SOL, like the space blanket thing, I trimmed it in half. So I actually have in a drawer in my office, I have another spare one ready to go whenever I run this completely into the ground. But yeah, very good ground sheet. And it's in a Ziploc because if it gets muddy or dirty or whatever, I can keep it in there. And this also doubles, this has another purpose, which is why it's next to the Gators. When I usually take, nearly always take, public transportation to the trailheads or to whatever trail or area of forest if I'm going off trail and I'm hiking, and I don't want or need to have Gators when I'm sitting on a bus or a train, and on the way back they can be muddy and dirty, so I'll keep the Gators inside this Ziploc baggie with my ground sheet. Nice little tip there if you're a Gator user. Now moving along, let's move back down here because there's another straightforward piece of gear. I don't really have to get into much detail, and that's my sleeping bag. This is my silk / Apex 2.5 / Ergon 67. Make your own gear, do it yourself sleeping bag. I love this thing. I've tested it out now many times out in the field. It's great. I think in a pinch it could be used down to like 10, maybe 9-10 degrees, but I generally use it for 11, 12 degrees and up. And it keeps me quite warm for those temperatures. When it gets chillier, of course, I'll use it in tandem with my other clothing. I have, as you see over there, my down vest, which I'll get to, and base layers and such. But yeah, very, very happy with this piece of do-it-yourself stuff. I guess what I can do is I could put a link to in the description if you're interested in having more information on that. You can check that out. All right, here's maps. Not much to say in a Ziploc bag. I just printed these off online, just free maps, which is nice when you find trails that have just free information online. You can just print them out. But of course, it's nice to keep them waterproof. And then this goes inside of my pocket of my pack, which is also itself very water resistant, proof, whatever you want to call it. And then of course, if it's really raining, I have the poncho tarp over everything. So it's nice to have that redundancy with certain things to keep them dry. Since we're talking water, I got here a platypus for my raw water, a container to pour, same container as before. And in the last video, last summer, I talked about the Sawyer regular, and I was very happy with it. I still have it, but the mini has taken over. Now some people have complained about the mini, said that it's like got a slow flow rate and that it clogs. Maybe because I'm a section hiker and I have the luxury, I guess, of, I come back and just, I back flush it at home. I have nothing but good things to say about it. I will continue to use this. Very happy with it. Don't mind the flow rate. So yeah, mini Sawyer, super light. You see this all over gear lists nowadays, and for good reason. Recycled plastic water bottles. This is 650 milliliters, so it's a little over a liter. you might think that's not very much water, but here in Sweden, it's great that I have the map here actually, so I can talk about this. See those blue spots? Lakes. There are going to be lakes all over the place, streams, springs, and even taps sometimes out near trail shelters and stuff. So where I hike, water is not an issue. So I don't have to take all that much with me, and it saves on weight for the total pack weight. Okay, moving on. Sunscreen. It does get sunny in Sweden, believe it or not, on occasion. Bug spray, and then a bug net. Same bug net as before, same baggie, and I'll give the same disclaimer as before. Make sure that you, if you're coming to an area with midges or no-see-ums, that you have nano netting. Easy mistake to make. The baggie I use for rock bag to throw there's my rope there, my cordage for a food bag if I want to hang it up in a tree. Then a first aid. This is something new actually. And I'm going to do a separate video on my smaller, like with the bags that have smaller gear kind of in them, like my first aid kit, and also my repair stuff goes in there. In this orange Zpacks zip pouch, my ditty bag with like toiletries, and I have a small towel in there which I can use not only to dry myself off, but also to wipe off any moisture, condensation, rain from my tarp. Compass on a cord along with a whistle and a backup little LED light. In my ditty bag I have my headlamp, and that's in a little teeny tiny little stuff sack, and then there's that cloth wipey thing for my glasses and the camera. Up there, that blue, that's a folded stuff sack, that's for food. It's a Sea to Summit waterproof, water resistant, I guess if you want to call it whatever. But yeah, for my food, if I want to hang it in the trees and if it's raining. But I will say this, all of my food is in individual Ziploc bags anyway. So it's a nice, again, redundancy. You don't want your food getting, wet and messed up. So yeah, that's just the food bag. So speaking of food, then we can go to my cook kit. Now, for those of you following my blog, you remember that I switched to Esbit, and I said a lot of good things about Esbit. I love Esbit, but this is really a practical issue. I would have Esbit, but here in Sweden, it's become increasingly difficult to find. I've looked all over, and I simply can't find it anywhere. I don't know what the problem is, so I've had to, just out of necessity, go back to alcohol. Now that's fine. I really like alcohol too. It's a great, this stove setup's a great little setup, very lightweight. But I prefer Esbit, so whenever I find Esbit, I'll be going back to it. But yeah, alcohol works for now. It's no big deal. Okay, and I guess I don't have to really discuss the contents. I will say this little bottle I found is great. It works for about 3 days of fuel. I can actually pack everything together into the titanium pot, and then the pot goes inside just a plastic bag. There's my Ultralight spoon, more a knife, same as before. Cordage for my shelter, not much really more needs to be said about that. Tent stakes. Over here I have a few small pieces of gear that will go in the hip belt, which is up there. Lip balm, of course, a wallet. I have a bit of cord that will attach either to my wallet when I'm in the city in transit, but then when I get out to the woods I'll put the wallet away. Then this cord I will strap to the camera. So if I drop it, which happens, can be butterfingers, then it won't hit the ground and break. The one end of the cord I'll strap to my hip belt or my shoulder strap or wherever I feel is the most comfortable at the time. And then I don't have to worry about losing or dropping it. Underneath these small things is my dump bag. It's my little bag for keeping any wild edibles that I found or whatever else if I want to, like for example, have my Sawyer water filter on hand if I know I'm low on water and I want to fill up. I can put that here, which straps to my hip belt. On one side, I have the hip belt pocket. I only take one hip belt pocket in general. So on the other side, I can have this little nylon baggie. Okay, so now we are on to shelter. I won't say too much about it because I've already done you know, a set of videos on my shelter. I could put a link to that in the description. This is the shelter I will be using this summer most of the time. It's going to be my Mountain Laurel Designs Serenity bug net with my Zpacks Cuben fiber tarp. Great combo. I'm really into that at the moment. This gear list is a little heavier than last year's, but I have it's a bit more versatile, a bit more space and comfort in the shelter. Yeah, so I guess what I could do is look into the last year's total weight, compare that to this year's, if you're interested in that, on the blog post, if I can remember. Now, sleeping pad. This is one change from last year. I folded this up and I used the sleeping mat as a frame for my backpack. And you'll notice I have a foam pad rolled up at the bottom there as a sit pad. It's just for convenience. I broke down and thought, hey, you know what? I'll have the sit pad on the outside. And then I can just have my foam mat. This is the same one as last year. Last year, when I had talked about it in the video, I said it was new. But I've gotten really good use out of it. I really like this sleep pad. This is the Zor short sleep pad, and I'm a big fan. Okay, on top here I have some clothing, so we'll get into the clothing that I have packed. This is just a beanie, a Merino wool beanie, keep me warm at night. I've decided to go deluxe with the pillow. I have an inflatable pillow, and then I have my do-it-yourself felt stuff sack pillowcase thing. So what I'll do is at night I'll change into my base layers. Here these are just silk base layers, very comfortable, warm, light. And I will put my t-shirt then, there it is. So my t-shirt and any other clothing, like if it's a warmer night out, I can, you know, put the down vest if it's very warm. Stuff that inside of this, and it's big enough that it will hold the inflatable pillow along with any clothing as like added padding for a deluxe pillow. Very comfortable. I'm never going back to just using stuff sacks pillows after using a nice little inflatable one. Okay, so I mentioned the silk base layers, and as I said before, if it gets really cold, I could wear base layers underneath the rest of my, you know, clothing, and then of course with the down vest, and then the wind shirt on top of that. And then I guess if I got really desperate, I could throw the rain poncho as like a wind blocker on top of everything. But I've never really, at least in recent memory, I haven't had to do that where I have to like combine everything. That's kind of a just in case. If it's at night, there's times at night it can get chilly. So what I will do is I will wear the base layer, down vest, and then the wind shirt on top of the down vest. And of course, you know, the hat and the scarf and all that. Along with my sleeping bag, and that will keep me toasty warm at night. Like I said, down to around 10 degrees or so. Okay, I guess the last thing to talk about is the pack. It's the newer Zero, which I've already done a video comparison between the old and new Zero. I've been incredibly happy with this pack. It's my go-to pack now, and I have plenty of space. After I pack all this gear into the pack, I have plenty of space for food. In fact, you know, some might even say, you know, it's overkill, too much space, because I can roll down the roll top like, you know, 4 or 5 times, you know, really scrunch it down, but that's without food. When I add the food, and then I can add luxury food. I've been lately really into taking luxuries with me. Now that I've gotten my pack weight down so low, it's nice to take like a small box of wine, sure, why not? Bag of chips, fresh fruit, yeah, okay, sure. And then I'll, you know, burn through that on the first day or two, and then have plenty of space. It's also nice to have space too, as I said before, for loose clothing, worn stuff just to throw on top. And again, this is a very water resistant, you could maybe outright call it waterproof bag, because the seams are sealed, and then the fabric itself is waterproof. And then, yeah, the poncho tarp on top. Alright, looks like I'm going to get it under 20 minutes this time. I hope this was enjoyable. Update from my last video, my very first video on my what's in my pack. So here it all is. I'm looking forward to the rest of this summer. Thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful, and take care.